What's up, everyone? Welcome to Bill Bronze and Dragons. I'm your host, Bill Bron Bafflestone. So today we're having another episode of my video response series. Today we're replying to XP to Level 3's latest video on the actual strongest monster in 5e. So first of all, I'm a huge fan of XP to Level 3. The dude is hilarious, and he's got like the biggest D&D channel out there. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know if there's a bigger one, but mad respect, bro. Well done. And I was really curious to see his new video, and he led up to it great, right? You know, the way that he does and tells that story. And, he brought up the Tarrasque, and I was like, yeah, okay, the monster that can't fly and has no ranged attacks, so it can be beaten by a third level character with Levitate and a longbow. Yeah, I can see why that's not the strongest. And so he goes on, and then he finally reveals the strongest monster. Titivulus! And it just cracks me up, because if you have followed me and my channel and you know about my character Bill Bron Bafflestone, my namesake, you'll remember that Titivulus was Bill Bron Bafflestone's personal nemesis. And I kicked his ass 4 times in that campaign. The first time was his best shot at me, because I had no idea what he could do, and he was fucking me up, I ain't gonna lie. He ambushed me and my party with himself and 15 Maragons, and he had to totally scry us, so he knew all of our powers and weaknesses and abilities. And our paladin was like insta-killed in the first round, and he was literally in my face, smacking me to death with his stupid silver sword and sticking me with his crazy fear effect and doing all this ventriloquism stuff and teleporting all over the place. And I'm not gonna lie, he was kicking our asses, and I thought we were gonna have a total party kill. And I barely managed to flip that battle because he actually knocked me to 0 hit points. And I barely ever take damage, and he just knocked me to 0 hit points. But fortunately, my familiar was able to revive me, and to knock me to 0, he had followed me into this little 5-foot stone tunnel. And so I was able to spring my newest spell that I just added and never cast before, so he didn't know about it, Stone Shape. And I was able to seal him behind a 5-foot a plug of rock in this tunnel, and he just couldn't get through it. Look at his stat block. There's nothing he can do to get through it. And that flipped the battle, and we were able to win that one instead of getting TPK'd. And he hated me in particular after that, and was starting to ruin my reputation, taking my shape, committing all of these crimes. It was very annoying. And then I responded in kind by taking his shape, and then wearing a dress and coming up to me and begging me to let him worship my god, because that time that I kicked his ass with his own sword made him reflect, and yada yada yada. So he hated me and he hated us, and he attacked us again in another ambush scenario, except I totally sussed out the ambush, and I even told my party, like, guys, there's an ambush, and they're like literally standing right over there. And they're like, they had a plan. So they decided to trigger the ambush anyway, not knowing it was Titivulus. But I was like way off to the side, and they got hit by a symbol that Titivulus had placed. And then they got attacked by like the dozen drow minions that he brought with him. And then he came directly for me, but this time I had a shield guardian I had acquired in the meantime. And this time I had some intel on the guy, and I knew a little bit about what he can do. So I used my shield guardian to grapple him and pull him into an area of heavy obscurement so he couldn't use a site-based teleport. And then I was pummeling him. But then he escaped because the asshole was wearing a ring of free action. And we were talking mad smack to each other back and forth. One of my colleagues actually at one point was like, Jesus, this is like a Harvard grad cutting on a Yale grad. But he managed to escape. Then a third time, he attacked us in Menzoberranien. I think that's how it's pronounced. Correct me if I'm wrong. And we were, checking out this tower that was like all, rifled through, and bookcases were knocked over and whatever. But we had intel that he was in town and was purchasing 9th level scrolls. So I was like hugely paranoid, right? And so while we were scoping this place out, I cast Rope Trick just as a precaution. And like the instant he made his appearance, like I'm never surprised, and I always win initiative because I was like at plus 12 with a plus D8 and rolling at advantage. And so anyway, I acted first. And so as soon as he showed up, I cast Bigby's Arcane Hand, and then I scooted into my rope trick, and then I covered it with the Arcane Hand because I knew he was getting 9th level scrolls, and I was super scared that he was going to be casting Meteor Swarm on us, which, quite frankly, it would have killed me straight up. Like, even if I'd made my save, Meteor Swarm would have killed Bilbron Bafflestone. So I was like, okay, I don't want to be in the room when he drops it, and I want to make sure he can't, like, launch it into my dimensional space. And he ended up having cast Time Stop, but my tactic completely stymied him because I had the MacGuffin, and his whole plan was that he was going to use the Time Stop and then take the MacGuffin from me when and then, fuck me up with some kind of delayed timing thing or whatever. And he couldn't do that because of my immense paranoia and my defensive strategy. So he ended up just spending like 5 rounds buffing and then attacked the party. And I literally didn't even come out. I was like, okay, guys, this is your show. I'm going to sit here. I'll let my Shield Guardian get some work in. And they basically kicked his ass and he had to run away. And our final encounter was in my very final battle as Bilbron Bafflestone. And I thought it was going to be like against a bunch of Demon Lords, but it turned out to be Orcus and Titivolus made a surprise appearance, again, trying to take me out because he was so pissed. He's like, fuck you, Bafflestone, you ruined everything for me! And, but the problem for him was that I entered that final battle fully rest-tricked. So I had like 22 silver tiny servants available, and so I just smashed him with those and raked him for like 90 damage. And then I tried to finish him off, but I was doing a vanity cast of Steel Wind Strike because it was one of those spells that I'd never cast in that campaign, and I wanted to cast it, and I missed. And so the honor of killing him fell to my colleague, who raked him with an action surge 2-weapon flurry that literally made baloney out of him. So yeah, I kicked Titivolus's ass 4 times, and yes, he is a hugely tough customer. And it just cracked me up that Jacob was like, yeah, this guy is the strongest monster in D&D that you can use to challenge your entire party. It's like, not at an optimizer table.